Hello, and welcome to the very first Blue Mode Games devlog. This has been a long time coming, and this really should have came out over a month ago, but here it is. The demo for our game, The Secrets We Grow, has been out for quite some time now, and we're incredibly proud of the work we put into every corner of the game, which wouldn't have been possible without my other teammates, Gil, our programmer, Kenji, our audio designer, and Reese, our 3D artist. Now, you might be asking, what was I doing while they were working on all that? Well, you nosy you. Obviously, I was busy putting in hundreds of hours in Risk of Rain 2, but besides that, it was my job as writer to create the story. That might get its own separate video. We'll see how that turns out. But it was also my job to brainstorm different environments for Irish to travel through. And that, my blueberries, are what I'm interested in talking about today. The first level of The Secrets We Grow is the sewers, and it was an area that I inherited from the beginning of development. I joined this project after all of the areas were thought up with, and that includes the beta version of this level as well. One of the main complaints we got from that pixel art version of our game is that the setting looked stagnant, as if there wasn't much going on. This was something I wanted to alleviate with working on our 2.5D version. So while the rough draft of the area was all said and done, I still worked with our 3D artist to design locations throughout the entire level that would give the game a little bit more personality. A lot about the sewers has changed from the start of development to releasing the demo, and, spoiler alert, a lot will probably still change once the full game releases. But I still thought it would be fun to look back at the development of our demo. This may be an older build than I think what is in the demo at the moment, but this should suffice with everything. It has a little bit of an fisheye camera angle, so you can see maybe more of the background this way. So if we start here, this is currently the opening that you're seeing. I do not know if this is what's in the demo build right now. Ooh, I love that. But as you can see here, I planned on having the opening, the rainwater dripping from the surface of the area here. This is because of what Iris even is. She is the integrated rainwater irrigation system. Her internal power system is run by flowing water. So the way you'd wake her up again is this steady flow of water from the surface. That was a decision made by me. The final opening cutscene that you saw right there, I planned on maybe having a reboot screen that would have, like, basically your entire goals, but we ended up foregoing that. We might have something in plan for the final release of the game that would show, like, more of your goals, but have not decided yet, of course. And we didn't want it to be like too obvious with like text on the screen, because we still want this to be a game at the end of the day where anyone of any language can really interpret. This pipe design actually was not thought up by me. Really, I initially thought like that opening area that you see in the next room here was going to be the starting area, since in the original game that was like room 001 or 000. Our 3D model, of course, made this as the starting area of the demo, and subsequently I think we might keep it for the final game as well. I really love the piping he did for this. And you can't really see it from just this view right here. Unfortunately, I don't have the Unity build, so I can't show you how the scale of this. Maybe I'll edit it into the final recording. But this is a large room. It goes up very far, and it gives you more of that depth with this camera angle. I think this room gives this area a lot of charm. It gives you a lot of mystique. I think it's a very good opening for this point in the game. And then moving on, there we are. This is the opening room that we initially conceived. It has changed a lot from its simple beginnings. This room has always been from the very beginning of development. And God, I love how it looks. It's great. We have this room. As you can see, a lot of this background element here is like a hallway out into the background. That was also designed by Reese. A lot of this in-between little detail stuff here, I mainly dealt with the bigger picture of every single room. But Reese brought so much life into a lot of these different areas. And this room. This is what we have colloquially known as a robot room. This robot right here, initially, and I might get a recording of maybe a previous build where it wasn't in. This robot was not here initially. It was this lone sunflower in the middle. Obviously, it was like a placeholder for something we might add later, because we wanted to add a bunch of robots into the game that would flesh out more of the world more. A lot of the robots that are hiding in the sewers are like decayed, decrepit from the surface. They're like kind of just down here left to rot. And this is a quick little quirky thing that I'm sure anyone that has played the demo of the game doesn't know. That's an object. Doesn't really have a point right now. We might do something with it. Doesn't have all the physics. And I love how the eye tracks you. That was all Reese. That was Reese's idea, that like the eye would track you as you're going along the level, the room here, which is a great touch. And this is another room that actually has changed a lot since we initially conceived it. This used to be sort of a bathroom area in between this, but we decided it didn't really form, like, thematically nor... Yeah, I guess thematically or structurally just made sense for the area. So we made it as sort of, kind of a shed room, or like, a rest room between there and there. Which makes more sense. Beyond this is a giant burner room. We have flies over here, which was carried over too. These flies weren't initially here. They were used for, again, that bathroom-looking area, almost like indicate like something like rotting behind the stalls or something. But we reused it lovingly for this area because we spent a little bit of time on it. Right here, this room has changed a bit. These 3D pipes right here used to be 2D models. Or I guess not, I guess 2D models is the incorrect, 2D sprites that'd be layered in the foreground. And we got a lot of complaints that it was really hard to, it was like positioned right here on this lily pad, and it was very hard to jump from this point to that point. And we're about to enter a very important place in the game. Ta-da! This right here is the subway tunnels, and this was an area that I wanted to implement. I had the idea of having a very like subway system throughout this entire level. It was initially designed to have one section be cramped tunnels, like almost like a cave system of sorts, and then it would lead into more of this traditional station area. And if you could see very closely into the background, there's like a little cafe, like a waiting cafe for people that want to like wait for the train. That wasn't designed by me. That was all Reese, and unfortunately I don't think a lot of people noticed. I'm kind of sad, because there was a lot of work put into the back of this right here. Of course, the initial concept I had for this changed a lot. As you can see, there was like no cave, really, back there. There's no cave system. We kind of swapped the order in our demo, and it's probably going to remain that way in the final release, with this area being first, and like you enter the caves. Another thing that Reese added into this area that I didn't really specify on was these columns in the background, which look so cool. It gives this area so much more mystique. And it's very huge. Of course, and like all the subways in the back colliding. It's very cool. It almost looks like it plummeted, like a lot of this like stuff plummeted from the surface. Like this could have been a building. This signpost here could have been plummeted from the surface as well. Very happy with how this turned out. Oh yeah, and if you look really closely in the background in this shot, there's like, we put a lot of graffiti as like Easter eggs throughout the entire level, and like right, I don't know if you, because my cursor's not in the recording, but if you look right here where my plan is, that's the avatar of one of our good friends in the background there. And if we move closer in, we get more signposts, and you see a little bit more of the graffiti in the area. And they're just here to give a little bit more flavor to the background as well. This room. So at the very end of the subway station, I also had this idea of a subway car at the very end of this that's like kind of dislodged in the wall. And what it was supposed to be is an abandoned camp with a lot of humans in it. Right now in the demo, there is not anything really inside of the subway train. But yeah, there's supposed to be like sort of a camp. It looked way more lived in. Inside would have like a bunch of campfires. Like the windows would have like kids' drawings on the walls, and it was made to look like a place where humans would come by and make do, while also feeling a bit like home to someone. And it would be very bleak because obviously the setting that we have for the Secrets We Grow is a post-apocalypse. So obviously everything in the background will all be from people that would most likely deceased up to this point. We actually expanded this purpose to anyone that came to play our game at Siege Expo, one of the expos that we went to. We had little drawings inside the subway tunnel. This initially had more of a lore purpose, and Reese made all like the cage drawings in the game that would have expressed like a lot more of like the world and what's going on and lore. We have since gotten rid of it. Our story has changed quite a bit since up to that point, and we just wanted to show off how we could sprinkle in a little bit more lore. But we decided that it wasn't a good fit, so we got rid of it for this demo. Obviously, of course, this is not going to remain an empty subway tunnel, or I guess just an empty train car. Put more stuff inside of it. What it is? Ooh, it's a mystery. Ooh, it's a mystery. Stay tuned. We got plans. If you look over here, one portion of it is collided off to the side. Another reason of like, obviously this is like an imperfect place to like live in, but it was like basically what people had to make do with. If you go over here. And over here, it's a little earthquake down here. And this is when we officially enter the cave areas. Whoa! Once again, this was put from the very beginning, from what my conception of this level, to the very end, as we thought it would flow a lot better. The blue stuff you see on the wall is cyan lichen. I wanted to add the cyan lichen here because it would have been more interesting than having just a regular cave setting. And it made sense since it's like still reminiscent of fauna in the setting as well, which coincided with our theming. Initially though, I looked at like a bioorganism that would light up with the presence of water down here, and there wasn't really a way to convey that these little cyan specks on the walls of the cave were like organisms, really, especially with our limited art style. Not to say that this art style is not good, just very hard to do with like the pixel filter and how our models work. And if we move over here, bam, we have a little underwater cave portion right here, a little underwater pond, if you will. One of the very first things that I wanted to add into the sewer area was a naturally occurring pond with a destroyed ceiling up here, so that a bunch of sunlight would go in, and it would have a bunch of fauna and flora. There would be a lot of organisms like birds and everything, frogs, perhaps. A sewer system is not very habitable place to live in, so it'd be a high contrast, and it'd be like a way to introduce more of life into the sewers. Obviously, there's a lot of areas with pronounced lighting already, so we decided to scrap that idea and kind of move that premise into this room right here, as it has a lot of water. I also wanted to conceive that area since I knew Gil had a lot of these water surfaces right here, and I wanted to encompass that since Iris, if you didn't know, can't really swim, she sinks. So having an area where you have to intentionally not touch the very bottom portion right here, I knew would work well with gameplay, as well as a little bit of story. Alright, and here we have the very ending of the level. I actually had a different conception of what I wanted for this level, but this giant plant right here has made its way since the very, very beginning build of the 2D area. And as soon as you water this bulbous plant right here, it would shoot us up into the surface, which I really like. Initially, I had the idea of walking out through the side. You would initially exit out of the side, or maybe a staircase upwards. As a lot of games that have this similar theming have kind of that area where the sunlight blinds you as you walk out into the open world. I think Breath of the Wild does that. Kirby in the Forgotten Land also does the same thing. But I do think we decided to keep this exit to the level since we really liked how it kind of wraps around. This is like one of the first mechanics that was introduced in this level, and we kind of liked how it kind of loops all the way back around to form a complete ending for the sewers. And alley-oop. And this right here, this was our dream hack build, I believe, and it has remained. I think it's not in this demo anymore, but this remained in our demo on Steam for like quite a bit. This ending right here with the cat, and we thought it'd be very funny for the people that playing our game to have a cat asking us to wishlist the game. And I believe that is everything I wanted to touch on with the conception of our beginning level. If you couldn't tell from my comments, a lot of these environments weren't only thought up by me, but a lot of them were conceived when Reese was touching up the sewers in general, so I'd argue a lot of the game's voice and story also rests on him. And I'd like to thank him a lot for that, because I definitely couldn't have done it alone. Needless to say, I had a ton of fun brainstorming with everyone at Blue Mode, and I think we turned this place from an area that was sort of bland before, but now it's turned into a setting that feels like a mysterious journey underneath the Earth's surface. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, why don't you subscribe? We're planning to make a lot more devlogs in the future based off of The Secrets You Grow and other games in the future. We also post frequently to YouTube Shorts with more bite-sized info on our development. Plus, I mean, other stuff if you're interested in that. And that'll do for this video, Blueberries. And just between you and me, I have always been horrendous at ending videos.